Hello. I think we have like a bunch of people joining already. So we'll give this one or two more minutes, and then we can get started. Thank you all for spending a little bit of like your morning. For me, it's morning, right? So I think between me and Awni, we spend like I don't know, like 8 or 9 time zones. For me, it's still morning. So 8:30 a.m. Still drinking my morning coffee. And
At
again, like
6:30 p.m.
whatever,
here on
6:30.
the on the other side of the spectrum.
See, like 10 hours between both of us.
Yeah,
So morning and evening and nights for Auni soon. Yeah, so it's going to be a fun session. Again, we'll start in a second, but yeah, we want to make this very much a session about the why we build certain things and also like showcasing very practical and tactical things towards the end that any of you could actually go and set up today. Again, could be with Amplemarket or Amplemarket again. Like we're going to show how it's how it's much easier to actually set up with Amplemarket. But yeah, it doesn't really matter when we talk about workflows or orchestration across the business. It's just like there's some primitives or some concepts that you can actually use. They're completely Amplemarket independent. Yes, okay, Colleen. Like I like that. I'm here for Amplemarket tips too. Like I get a lot of tips from Ani. But I give it as I see still like a bunch of people still joining, so I give it more 30 more seconds and we'll get going. We should have a music as we are here just waiting for people to join. Some songs. We'll have like Mariana and Ample Market Success Gonzalo on the chat. So whenever you have questions or if you want to ask specific things as like we're talking or demoing anything, just drop your questions in the chat. We actually review all the questions and we'll send you all answers later on. We've been a fun thing. We've been seeing a lot more people joining these webinars, which is like really great to see. So people are kind of like really wanting to build more of their orchestrations and motions on top of like what Amplemarket has to offer. And again, across the board from engagement workflows to the AI stuff that we have like on Cloud and ChatGPT. But if there are webinars that any of you or any themes that you'd like us to cover, just by all means, just let us know, and then we're going to be organizing more of these going to Q2. But yeah, anyways, like I think we'll get started on it. So like
let's go. Yeah,
we have a lot to cover. And the way we like to do this at the beginning is just like having a very laid back conversation on the why we build things. And Auni here is kind of like one of the product managers in charge of the Amplemarket service area that is like the engagement product and the workflows product. By the way, my name is Mica, one of the founders, very involved with our customer facing teams and sales teams. I speak very fast. I'm so sorry about that. I'll try to speak slower. But thank you so much for joining and for being here with us. And Auni is like an amazing product manager at Amplemarket. I mean, maybe I'll let you introduce yourself in a few words.
yeah, absolutely. Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. First of all, like really excited you're here. And our goal today is like a simple one. We want to show you how to make orchestration feel practical, right? So as Mika mentioned, we want to leave the session with ideas you can actually put into practice right away. Workflows you can build with the team. Maybe something you can build after the webinar. So that would be awesome. A quick intro my side. My name is Awni, part of the product team here at Amplemarket. Been in product for almost a decade across different segments, nonprofit tech, product-led growth, in product engagement, and revenue tech. And for the past 3 years at Amplemarket, as Mika mentioned, like I've been focused on engagement and workflows, everything that helps you folks to cut through the noise, personalize at scale, automate what should happen next, which is what we're going to touch today, and to hopefully run smarter outbound motions, right? And today is really about making that tangible. So we're going to show you real life use cases that teams are already like handling manually today, and we want to show you how you can turn those into workflows that actually orchestrate the next step automatically. So that's like a quick intro on my side. Back to you, Mika.
I love it. And on other topics, Auni is a girl dad, which a fellow colleague here. And Auni is an amazing cook and a foodie. So if you guys want to talk about food with Auni, just by all means, like
Absolutely. Yeah.
Auni at
My
amplemarket.com.
pleasure.
But let's get going. Like I think the way that we again when we talk about workflows and orchestration, like it's kind of like we always try to talk a lot with customers and really understand kind of like where the main pain points are, where the market is, and we talk with our existing customers a lot, but also like with non-customers, prospects of Ample Market that are currently evaluating. And it's so interesting because again, like all of us in this room for sure are feeling that the world is shifting and changing so fast, right? I think the way that teams operate nowadays is so different than they used to operate just at the end of 2025. And it feels like the end of 2025 is just yesterday. And again, predicting the future is really hard. Like, right. So like in terms of like the way that like our engineering team operates nowadays versus 12 months ago is so fundamentally different. And we like to think about these things, where the world is going, where technology is going, and where teams are today. One thing that's kind of like struck us is that, you know, the life of the VP of engineering seems to be easier than ever, right? So like everybody's like a genie that they can just ask to build stuff, exaggerating, but like it's easier today to build like again. But at the same time, the life of the VP of sales has never been harder. Kind of like distribution of software is kind of like instead of getting easier with AI, it seems to be getting harder. And and the reason is that like we still see like a lot of teams like doing a lot of manual stuff and things like routing leads like or setting up reminders to do a follow-up or moving someone from into a nurture sequence from like a sales sequence or updating your CRM, all of these things. And when we talk to new customers, they're still like painfully manual, and it's weird, like it's almost like we're still living like it's 2025. I'm joking, but like it's like 2010. Awni, I know that you talk a lot with customers, right? So I see this a lot on the sales side, talking with new customers, but you talk a lot with our existing customers and new customers. And I think like my question to you is kind of like, what's your read on like why teams still operate in such like a manual way today?
Absolutely, yeah. So what I've been hearing all of the time is people are not stuck because they don't know the process. It's actually the exact opposite. So everyone tells me like, I know what I want to do. I know the steps to do something, but they're more stuck about how to make the process like actually functional. How can they actually make it operational, right? And there are like typical reasons I usually hear. The first one is the logic and the process lives in people's heads, right? So everyone knows what should happen, as you mentioned, when there is like nurturing sequence, or like when a meeting is booked, or when someone replies, right?
Mhm.
But the system is not actually enforcing that logic. So there is no way to actually get what's in people's head and like actually make it realistic. The second one, which is very common, the stack is fragmented, right? So one
Mhm.
part of the sales stack lives in CRM, another in a sequence tool, one, as you mentioned, like notifications in email or Slack, maybe one like spreadsheets, and one maybe like in the reps like mental checklist, right?
Yeah.
And like there is even a recent study by HubSpot where almost 50% of sales teams feel overwhelmed by how many tools are on their stack. And that's, by the way, the value prop of Amplemarket. Like we're trying to consolidate everything into one. And maybe the last reason is like the default path is still manual. So if there is like no automation layer, what happens next turns into like admin work or like talking to the team, which all in all like piles up into not just inefficiency but also being like inconsistent on how you operate, and that becomes really expensive with time. When you're trying to run like more sophisticated go-to-market motions with the recent like advancements in AI, when things that when you're like competing against sales teams that actually use the process and they orchestrate, it becomes very hard to
Mhm.
compete. Um, so, Mika, this is like what I think why better teams are starting to think differently, as you mentioned, about sales execution altogether, not just like about static sequences or something around that, but systems that actually orchestrate what should happen next.
I that's I think that's it's very interesting. When I think about orchestration, then to your point there, like it's kind of like orchestration is kind of like a standard operating practices that are kind of like in the head of someone, like a sales
Yeah,
leader, and
exactly.
they say ideally my team would operate like this,
Yeah,
but then like with the failure mode that I see a lot, and it's kind of like very much tied to one of the points that you're making. It's kind of like the disjointed tech stack. The fact that like you have like your email, your calling, your data, your signals, your CRM, your LinkedIn, all of these things living in different areas makes it very hard from a revenue operation standpoint to kind of like
100%.
really orchestrate in an easy manner. But in the end, for me, like orchestration is kind of like really this. It's kind of like I have this idea for the best way for my team to operate on the revenue side, and it's not only about like pipeline generation. It's from pipeline generation, pipeline progression to closing, and even to expansions later on. Like it's kind of like we discuss all of these things at the leadership level. Here's what we should be doing. Here's like how we actually increase win rates by this much, and those things are so hard because they kind of like, or I see them being so hard because they kind of like there's so many walls, there's so many little barriers of absorption that do not allow people to easily set them up. And again, like our idea with workflows here is kind of like to make that much easier to set up. Like again, like we talk a lot with customers, and we want to make that so much easier. So, for example, I'll give you, and by the way, we are ourselves users on Amplemarket, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying by all means that like we are super savvy on everything. We still like have a lot of things that we need to improve, but we challenge our product team a lot. And so I'll give you some examples of like some workflows, like again, that we use ourselves. So for example, like we like to offer executive sponsorship when like an enterprise opportunity moves past a specific stage. So if there's an account that is like an enterprise account that now is a stage 2 opportunity, we kind of like automatically warn the VP of sales and one of the founders to kind of like get involved and as an exec sponsor on that deal. Easy things like whenever you become a customer, all right, so like and you hand it over to the CSM, the executive sponsor or the CSM should automatically engage with the executive sponsor. Just like, tell them to connect with them on LinkedIn or to send them like a really quick welcome email. But these are like small things, small orchestrations. And by the way, like when we talk about this, sometimes I feel that people today like conflate AI with orchestration. And these two things are not the same. Like again, you don't need a PhD to do this type of like workflows. These are just like rules-based triggers that you want to do. And again, in an age where like I guess like everybody in this room has had the problem of like hitting their token limits on Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini or like whatever LM you're using, I think that's like it's almost using a PhD to check like an exclusion list. It doesn't make sense. Some of these things is kind of like, okay, how can we set up the rule sets that allow our team to operate in a contextual manner? Like there's so much context that is shared or that exists already in all of your tools. How do you make it so that like you're tying the right actions to the right context? And again, that's like the shift that we see is kind of like, it's no longer, to your last point, it's no longer nice to have. It's kind of like a must have. Like it's a competitive advantage to kind of like be really orchestrated. At least that's what I see across the board. But what do you see on your side there, Awni? I'm curious.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I agree on the AI versus orchestration point. We're going to show you workflows that you're going to build in like 2 minutes, and ones that might be a bit more sophisticated. We're going to get to that into a bit. But maybe like past 5 years in time, like maybe best teams were like too focused on designing the best outbound, right? So even you go to LinkedIn, you find like everyone bragging about certain like sequence structure that like always converts. And what we're seeing is a shift where people are, or the best teams are like becoming more better at designing what should happen around like those steps and those like outbound steps. So they're not only asking like what sequence this lead should go to, they're asking more questions, which is what happens when someone replies as interested, or like when a meeting is booked, certain field changes, when a lead finishes the sequence, does nothing. What should happen across the account? How do we coordinate like manual stuff? And this is really the heart of workflows. As Mica mentioned, it's like rule based. There is no like sophistication. We did our best to make the experience and like build it with love, so you can actually automate this stuff. And hopefully, we want to give teams and like our customers a way to orchestrate the obvious next steps that should just happen without depending on all of the manual coordination, disconnected tools, going here and there to stitch things together, or like someone just remembering like every operational detail. So we want it to be more than that. Not just like pipeline generation, pipeline progression, stealing
Mm,
Mika's sentence there. So there are like so many examples we're going to show you here. And the best part, like a lot of these use cases we're going to show you are much more relatable than they sound.
mm, mm.
So things that are like teams doing manually today, and we're going to show you how to actually automate them. So they were like built on top of actual use cases from our customers and things that we've heard over the past couple of years.
I fully love that, and I want to segue into like into the proper demo so that people can actually get like some tactical tactical insights here. But I, I fully agree with you. And one thing that I wanted to add here is kind of like these things don't have to be complicated, right? I've been to a few sessions here I live in San Francisco, but I've been to a few sessions like all around like workflows with AI, etc. And sometimes I see like people kind of like claiming super complex and complicated workflows. And like those don't have to be neither complex nor complicated. You can be very sophisticated with in a very simple setup manner. So like
Me or we
these.
lost Mica?
Oh, I think we lost you. I'm not sure. I lost you for a second there. Am I back? Or are you back? You're back. Who are we losing, team?
Not sure.
but but sorry, Ani. But I was saying that like these don't have to be complicated. They can be simple. They can be you can be sophisticated like and simple at the same time. And sometimes people convince you that like to have like a really good orchestration, like you need to kind of like have a very complex type of setup, and it's not true. But yeah, but I'll let you go, Ani. Like I just like you drive like, and we want to segue now into practical examples, and we'll show you a few of these. It's getting recorded. We'll share the recording, and if there are more that you'd like us to show that we are not showing here on how to build them, please let us know. Also, like we'll be extending the workflows capabilities at Amplemarket over the coming weeks, so we can also do that. And by the way, Awni, people are saying in the chat that N8N workflows are so complicated, which I would not disagree with. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'll let you drive.
100% I agree with. And we can promise you, like, we're building workflows that actually works for sales teams. And N8N is like on a totally different level, like automating for developers and all of that. So we put so much love into the experience to make it simple. Hopefully you can see that today. But yeah, we're going to jump right to it. If you have any questions, ask in the chat. Hopefully you can take some of the ideas we're going to show today. And as Mika mentioned, we're like enhancing. So if you have any ideas, feedback, or like all ears all time. So let me just jump right to it and share my screen. Trying to find the share screen button. Yeah, found it. Cool. Sorry, not a Zoom expert here. Awesome.
We can see a screen.
All right. So let's start with the first use case. Like the workflow webinar title mentions 3 use cases. We prepared more in case we have time. So the first one we're going to start with is a very simple use case. It's about relationship building, right? And this is the kind of sales play like almost every sales rep wants, but still most likely handles manually, right? Which is whenever a meeting is booked, you want to keep the relationship warm and connect on LinkedIn, right? The way I think about workflows is 3 parts or 3 sections. The when, so when the workflow should actually start. The second part is the who. So who you're targeting. Is it an account? Is it a contact? If it's a contact, who is that contact? And the what. What are the actions? Are you going to have different outcomes for different people who are going to be enrolled, right? I have them here, but we're going to actually build it together. We're just going to keep the slide as a safe base we can go back to in case we miss anything. To build workflows, you go to Amplemarket. You head over to workflows here. There are 2 ways to start, either from our pre-built recipes, which are basically ideas and pre-built workflows that you can just steal with 1 click, let's say. And we're continuing to expand these recipes. Today, we're going to start from scratch just to show you building in real time. So just like showing you a recipe and tell you like, here's the workflow. So I'm going to go to create workflow here, and I'm going to start building. Quick introduction about workflows. It happens in a canvas, which is the thing you're seeing here. And this canvas allows you to build workflows in a visual way. The workflow is structured by steps, as you can see here. The first step is called the trigger, which basically defines the when. Then you can actually add actions here, which defines the what. And in the workflow, you can define the who as well. So sometimes you might be able to add filters, or you can exclude certain people or include certain people. So that's a quick introduction about how workflows work. So let's build the first play. So this one, the when is whenever a meeting is getting booked, right? So I'm going to go to Amplemarket here. And the when will be defined in the trigger. I'm going to tell Amplemarket whenever an event happens, and that event is meeting booked. And thanks to Amplemarket being a consolidation tool, we track meetings booked out of the box without having you to like stitch another tool or have that event in your CRM or anything like that. So that is the event I'm looking for. And this simple use case is going to apply to me. So I'm going to select my user. So whenever a meeting is booked with me, that basically scratches the when here. Then the who, basically we're looking at prospects. So maybe I get meetings from customers, from Mica here, from other people, and I really want to focus on the prospects. And the way we define prospects at least in my use case, is by having a CRM filter, account type is prospect. That's how we do it. So I want to go to the filters here to trickle down the who in this case. And we have two types of filters we can apply. The first one is Amplemarket filters, which is the searcher filters you're totally used to. So things that are like revenue, company location, etc. The use case for here, we're going to tap into CRM filters. If you have the CRM connected, we support both Salesforce or HubSpot. You're going to find mapped fields here. When I say mapped, we're going to talk about how to tighten the relationship between the CRM and Amplemarket in a bit. But any field you see here is a field that has been mapped in the integration settings. If you're not seeing a field and you think you have it, talk to your team, maybe like your RevOps team, and you can actually map it and tighten the relationship with Amplemarket.
Awni, do you mind if I just chime in here? Because I think this is actually
Yeah,
an
of course.
interesting one. Like the point here, like Awni's kind of like building the context for the workflow triggers. And I think like one of the things that I recommend all of you like is go check like your CRM integration. Because you can map as many fields as you want from like your CRM back to Amplemarket. So if you have like really custom, like really detailed fields in your CRMs, you should be spending time kind of like mapping them back to Amplemarket. And maybe Awni's, yeah, perfect, is showing that. So like, you can do this at the lead, contact, and account level. But the more mappings you do, like you have like the custom mappings, the default ones, but any custom mapping that you have in the CRM, you can map back to Amplemarket, right? And so like those allow you to kind of like one filter, but also like you can have like context. Like imagine like you're revisiting a closed loss opportunity. You can actually pass the loss reason or the last conversation content into like one of those workflows, and then plug that into a sequence that has like an AI snippet, and then like all of a sudden like you're kind of like continuing the conversation that you've last had with that specific prospect. So like it's really important to kind of like the more mappings you do here, the more context rich your workflows can be. Sorry, I just didn't want to deviate too much, but
Couldn't agree
it's an
more.
important one.
This use case we're going to show, even though it's simple, it wouldn't have happened without a CRM filter. And
Mm.
that could happen because I have a field here called account type. So let me just look for it. And that allows me to do so many things in Amplemarket. So here, I'm actually going to tap into that inside workflows. So I'm on the account, looking for account type, and the account type is prospect. This way we tell Amplemarket if they are a customer or installation partner or technology partner, like exclude them. Don't include them in this workflow. So we define the who, right? So second part scratched. Then we need to define the what. And the what is very simple, which is dropping them into a LinkedIn sequence, right? So here, I'm going to click on the actions. We provide so many actions. Some of them are like functional or logic-based, like delays or paths. We're going to tab into sequences. I'm going to add them to a sequence. And this sequence is called post-meeting LinkedIn follow-up, right? And in this case, it's going to be assigned to me. And that's basically the first workflow we actually built. Whenever a meeting is booked, if the account type is prospect, we're going to drop them into my sequence. And the sequence could be as simple as, just to show you, and this one is like very simple. Hey, first name, thanks for booking time with me. Wanted to connect here ahead of our conversation. Something that many people like do manually, and now we can actually automate, just connect out of the box without you having to do anything at all. So that's for the first use case. You can build it in a couple of minutes and just have it like run automatically in the background without you having to do anything. And once you see this, like it feels weird to still do it manually, to be honest. It just like removes all of the small operational drag without losing the human touch. So that's the first use case we built. We're going to move to the second one.
Yeah, this is a great one, right? So like, just to build on top of what we were saying before, no need for AI here. It's kind of like, okay, like if you want to kind of like orchestrate the motion of like, again, open up the channel of communication, a new channel of communication that is LinkedIn or messaging or whatever, like you can just really go and then like set up the rules. Every time this happens, is actually running in the background, right? So like this is like no reliance on an individual to remember to do that. And imagine like you're saving so many minutes. Again, it depends on the size of your team, but you're saving so much time across the entirety of the sales org.
100%, yeah. But by the way, I forgot something. I had here like a deterrent field. You can actually do that. So if you like care about sales hygiene or you have a field you need to update in the CRM, you can add this action. And in my use case, like I had a LinkedIn on the contact, which is post meeting link connection, and you can set it through. So you can like play with the CRM fields as well, update them, make sure the sales hygiene is there, and make sure like the CRM is updated as well.
And by the way, people are asking about the CRMs, like we have bi-directional deep integrations with both HubSpot and Salesforce. take a look at the knowledge base, there's like, yeah, you can learn a lot about those two integrations. They're very deep for both of them.
Totally agree. And soon we're adding like some programmatic actions here, like webhooks and HTTP requests, which would allow you to tap into external systems as well, but more on that later. Going to the second use case, but we're going to up the level of difficulty bit by bit. So we're going to start simple, but also show you how can you take it even further at the end of the webinar, hopefully. So the second play, which is where Outbound starts becoming more account aware, instead of just like being contact by contact. So once one person is engaged in this sales play, the rest of the account would stop receiving cold outreach. Teams know like this should happen, right? The problem is still like they clean it up manually. It's a great example of account coordination. It protects the account experience and prevent like embarrassing follow-up collisions, right? So how do you do it manually? Tell me, I'd love to know. In Amplemarket now, you can actually automate this in less than 5 minutes, hopefully. So let's actually build it together. So I'm gonna refresh the page so I can start from scratch. And again, starting building from scratch here. So let's go by it like step by step. So the when, which is when the workflow should run, whenever an interested reply happens, or a meeting is booked, or a call is logged as interested. So here you can notice that I have multiple events, not just one. And like in Amplemarket Workflows, you can actually add multiple events. So you're not bound to only one. The relationship between them is an or. This means if any of them happens, the workflow is going to run, which is what we want here. So let's actually do that. So the first thing I'm going to add is a meeting is booked. So that's the first trigger. The second one is we mentioned when an email has been replied to, but I want the sentiment to be interested, which is we auto classify all replies, and you tap into this like for free, so you can have the interested. We also, since we're multi-channel, we're going to add LinkedIn replied and also interested. And the last one, if you're also doing cold calling, you can have call logged as interested as well. So you can see, like in this case, whenever a meeting is booked or there is an interest from any of the channels we support, you can actually trigger this workflow. So that basically tackles the when, which is the first part. Then the second part is other active contacts from the same account who are still in outbound sequences. So these are the folks that we're going to target. And we're going to actually remove them from all active sequences. We're going to add a small twist, which is Mica mentioned a ton about coordination and like when a sales opportunity is a certain size, we actually loop in an executive or like head of sales. We're going to add a twist here just to add that use case for you. So we're going to also like check if the account is strategic, which is a field that's defined in our CRM. And if it's strategic, we're going to also loop in an executive outreach, which is maybe like a head of sales or like VP of sales who can actually connect with the contact who like showed interest, basically. Strategic could mean so many things. Think about it as like the account is enterprise or like has a certain ARR potential. So let's actually do that. Since we have like an if condition, so here like if strategic account, I always think about the paths here and think about paths as instead of always having a linear workflow, having a branched one with different outcomes based on certain conditions. So it gives you the power to go into different directions instead of always going into the same direction. And that's where like a bit of orchestration and pipeline progression actually comes into play. So here we're looking for checking if the account is strategic or not and doing different things. We're going to branch based on a CRM filter. So here I'm going to click on the CRM filters here. And same thing as you've seen before, I'm going to tab into a field on the account that's called strategic, which is one that's coming from my CRM. It's called account here, sorry. And I'm going to check if it's strategic or not, basically, and save. So this reads as if the account is strategic, they're going to go into this branch. So we can also make it more visual if you want. This account is strategic, just to make it more visual. And sorry for the typo here. And you can see like we actually renamed the path here. And if the account is strategic, we mentioned we want to do two things. The first one is remove all contacts from sequences. So we're going to manage sequences and remove contacts from sequences. And the second thing we want to do, we want to drop them into an executive follow-up, right? So I'm going to drop them into a sequence. And that sequence I already created, which is strategic intent executive follow-up, which I'm going to show you how it works in a bit. If they are not strategic, we're not going to do anything. We're simply going to just remove them from sequences. Someone might ask,
Sorry, Awni, my Zoom crashed.
yeah, I thought it was me, and I got scared for a second. Are you sure it was you?
Yeah, it was
Okay,
me.
yeah.
You're good. So
Got
my
scared for a second
my
there.
Mac like said like my Zoom quit unexpectedly.
Cool. Someone might ask here, like, but you're talking about removing all context from sequences, but the workflow so far is acting on a contact, right, who showed the interest. And here you have an upgrade, which is something called the target here. And the target in workflows either acts on the contact that actually showed the interest or all contacts inside the same account. So let's say Mica here showed interest in a reply, and Awni or Mariana from the Amplemarket team is in other sequences. We can actually act on them as well. So we're going to tap into the account here. And this basically runs for all matching contacts from the same account where the contact actually have shown interest. So let's just like do a bounce check. Going back to the slide, the when is whenever a contact shows interest, which is what happens here. The who is any contacts from the same account. So we're acting on the account scope here. And then we're going to check if the account's strategic. If the account is strategic, we're going to go into this branch and not just like remove them from sequences, but also we're going to connect an executive with the person who have shown interest. If not, we're just going to remove them from sequences. You might be wondering how this sequence looks like, so we're going to check it out together. So the sequence here is a strategic intent executive follow-up, basically. And the way it was structured, it starts with a connection. So think about your head of sales or someone from the upper chain connecting with the prospect here. And then thanks to branching inside sequences, we're going to check if the LinkedIn connection was accepted within a certain duration. And if that happens, great, we have achieved the goal. If it didn't happen, we're going to actually follow up with an email. And here we started adding like a bit of personalization. So Mica mentioned something called AI Smart Snippets, which you can tap into it here. And think of AI Smart Snippets, for you who don't know it, as dynamic snippets or pieces of text you can inject inside sequences instead of something static, right? And the way it works, it's like using natural language. So here, we told it like you're writing a follow-up from the head of sales at Amplemarket. There is already an active conversation. Remember, this is a workflow that drops leads that showed interest. We're gonna just offer ourselves as a resource, and we already like sent a connection request. So I'm just talking it like in natural language, nothing sophisticated. And you might wonder like, what is the result? The result would be like hopefully a dynamic text that is tailored for each prospect. So let's actually try it out here really quick. So again, this is a workflow that triggers for strategic accounts whenever anyone in the account shows interest, and does like a small tweak, which is drops them into an executive outreach. So here it says like, wanted to briefly introduce myself as head of sales at Amplemarket. I know you and the team are already taking a look, so rather like than said anything, if questions come up along, I can share what typically see work and what tends to be abstraction. So this is something that I didn't try it. It was generated by Amplemarket without doing anything. And you can see a slight level of orchestration here and pipeline progression, where a simple workflow started touching into multiple folks inside the same account.
This is crazy good. Like this is a crazy interesting example, right? So like I think this is like I'm sorry to interrupt on you, but like the point of like having not only the orchestration rules, but also combining these rules with like the context that exists in your CRM that is kind of like currently locked there, and like you can actually not unleash it. Plus like AI. This is just a beautiful example on how you here in 4 or 5 minutes you built like this very sophisticated workflow that really is kind of like it's a dream for most RevOps teams to kind of like, okay, like if this happens, then this, like again with context that exists in the CRM plus like AI to kind of like break the ice and sound like exactly like the VP of sales. So interesting. I love this example.
Couldn't agree more. And think about it, like think about the manual steps here that you need to do. Like the first step is removing all contacts from the same account. Impossible to do. then you're not going to talk to an executive every time someone books a meeting and tells them like, hey, connect with this guy. It happens out of the box. And even the executive like don't have to write anything. We just like write it for them, very personalized, aligned with what's happening, and all like using just a simple like 3-liners we added to the AI Snippet.
Love it.
Awesome.
It's amazing.
Hope everyone's finding this helpful so far. We're going to jump to the third play. So something that happens with everyone, which is whenever there is interest, but the meeting was not booked, right? So what do you do? Like in this case, and how do you even track them, right? Do you have a manual notification here, or do you just like go every day where like look for those? So this is something that helps teams like move the pipeline forward, not just like generate it, right? Interested replies are valuable. The lead is warm. But too many teams like let them stall without a clear next motion, and I don't blame them, right? It's
And
very
this
manual.
is like, this is so true. Like, this is so true. It's one of those things that I still see a lot happening, which is kind of like, it's so hard to kind of like break into an account. And it's like, once you have an interested reply or like an open conversation, I see still a lot of teams kind of like dropping the ball and not like pursuing that conversation,
Yeah.
which is like, it's a real example that, you know, this shouldn't happen. Like in an era, like regenerating pipelines is hard. Like you should really treat all of these as gold nuggets. But yeah, go.
Couldn't agree more. So the win here is like whenever there is an interested reply, prospects who have not booked a meeting within 3 days. And if the go-to-market segment is enterprise, we're gonna hand them over to the SDR team. So again, some account coordination and orchestration. If not, we're just simply gonna follow up with them without like any special like handoff. So that's how it's gonna go. So let's actually build it together again. I'm gonna refresh the page just to start from scratch. And the when is whenever there is an interested reply. So we did that already. I'm gonna just like add one of them, but you can like add multiple channels if you actually have them. So this is how it goes. Then the prospects who have not booked a meeting within 3 days. So you might wonder like, how do we wait for 3 days and check if the meeting was booked? What we're gonna do here is add a delay. So one of the steps that we offer as actions is a delay. And here, we're going to wait for 3 days before taking the next action. Then after 3 days, we want to check if the meeting was booked or not, totally automatically without having to do anything. So you guessed it. Whenever you think about like branching or different outcomes, think about paths here. And this allows you to take different like branches based on certain things, right? And we mentioned checking if the meeting was booked. I have that as a serum filter as well. So I'll go to the contact here, look for meeting booked, and check if it's true and save. This reads as whenever there is an interest reply, wait for 3 days, then check if the meeting was booked. If it was booked, we're not going to do anything. So I'm going to leave this empty, right? If it wasn't booked, as you remember here, we're going to first check the go-to-market segment. If it's enterprise, we're going to hand off to the SDR team. If not, we're going to simply follow up using our own sequence. So you might wonder, like, we already taken different outcomes here, but here it seems like we need different outcomes again. And luckily in Amplemarket Workflows, you can branch again. So here I can actually add another set of paths. So here we're checking if the meeting was booked. If it was booked, nothing will happen. If not, we're going to check the go-to-market segment. So here, just to twist it a little bit, let's assume the go-to-market segment, it's defined by revenue. And Amplemarket like filters provide revenue out of the box. So I'm going to tap into Amplemarket filters and scroll down, go to revenue. And maybe it's defined as anything above 10 million. So that's like enterprise or like mid-market. If that's the case, so if they are above 10 million, we want to drop them into a sequence that is handled by the SDR team. If not, it will be my own sequence, basically. So it could be like any sequence here. So let's just do a pulse check really quick. Whenever there is an interest reply, we'll wait for 3 days. Check if the meeting was booked. If it was booked, great. Goal achieved. Nothing to do. If it wasn't booked, we're going to check the value of the account. So based on revenue, if there is a high potential, SDR team is going to take it forward and do cold calling, for example. If not, we're going to follow up with them in our own sequence and not hand it off to the SDR team. So you're looking at a ton of manual work here saved, account coordination, pipeline progression as well, where the SDR team might be looped in. and just hopefully like sparse some ideas on your head. Yeah. Mika, any
This is a
comments?
great example. Yeah, it's super example. I love this one. Yeah, it's like, and just a combination here of things like where like sometimes we talk with people using Sales Loft or Outreach and Zoom Info or whatever. Like just like here, you're just showing how you would need to set up a workflow outside of them because you need to plug into both of their APIs to kind of like be able to accomplish this. As you're kind of like showcasing here with like not only like you have a lot of context from the CRM and from Amplemarket, at the same time you're checking like the database or like the Amplemarket searcher, and then at the same time you're actually then flowing into a sequence and into the CRM, which is like again you've
100%.
done this in 4 minutes, so it's like it's crazy.
And that's like someone might think like this is simple, but it's also like due to the work of Amplemarket, since we do coordination, you're looking at like multi-channels, you're looking at dropping into sequences, so much automation here. Amplemarket filters, we have a database. If you go to other tools, like the stack is fragmented, as we mentioned,
Yeah,
and it's very hard to achieve these type of motions, right?
yeah,
Awesome.
I agree.
I think we have a couple of minutes left to the webinar. I'm not sure if we're gonna pause and like open the floor for questions or like cover one more use case. What do you think?
Do you have one more cool use case, and then I'll have like people ask type questions in the chat so we can actually answer all of them. So like show one more use case, and I'll just
Yeah,
give people the people have been asking questions, I've been replying, but I'll just like let more questions come in.
awesome. I'll be a little bit faster, but you can watch the recording always. But this one is interesting as well, which is everyone has closed lost opportunities, right? But how do you actually revive them? This is where like workflows start to feel a bit magical for sales teams. Most teams like do not lose deals because they lack context. They lose them because they never actually operationalize the context again, right? So instead of like restarting from scratch, how can you actually revive close lost? And it's about like CRM orchestration, not just like automation, right? So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna automatically revive close lost accounts, and we're gonna re-engage with them with context-aware follow-up. So we're gonna drop them into sequences where it's very personalized, given the context that happened at the close lost. The when is any account that has been marked as close lost for 90 days. We're going to target the primary contact inside the account, not everyone. And we're going to drop them into sequences that's like totally personalized for them. And to add a twist, based on the closed lost reason, we're going to drop them into different sequences just to make it a bit more sophisticated. So let's actually get right to it. So the first thing you remember, the when is whenever an account closed lost date is 90 days. And luckily, this is like a CRM field we have. We're going to tap into the account, and we're going to look for account updated. So this looks at CRM field, and whenever it matches the value, it actually triggers the workflow. So in this case, the field we're looking at is the close loss date, and we're looking for 90 days, right? So it should be is 90 days. Whenever any account days past close lost is 90, it's going to run through this workflow. So that's the first thing we did. So we covered the when. An important distinction, we are going to only target the primary account, not all contacts inside the account. So that translates to filters here. And we have a primary contact filter in the CRM again. So we're going to go to the contact here and look for primary. And it's true. So this means if the contact who was involved with that like account who was marked as closed lost is not primary, they're going to be excluded. So we don't want to create a noise where we reach out to multiple contacts inside the account. Then the what? We're going to branch them based on the closed lost reason into different sequences. So this way, like the context would be highly personalized. And whenever we mention again, like branches or outcomes, you think about paths, right? And let's just like add one path here, which is whenever the closed lost reason, which we have here mapped, is maybe like timing, not a priority, we're going to actually drop them into a sequence. And that sequence is called closed lost revival follow-up, basically. So just zooming out, whenever an account 90 days past closed lost, the primary contact is going to come here. We're going to look at their closed lost reason and drop them into a sequence where it's highly personalized. The sequence looks like this. So I'm going to show you really quick, and we can wrap up the use case. So 90 days, you don't do anything. You might be even sleeping. So right, like in the background, they're going to be dropped into this sequence. And here we used an AI snippet. So this is like static text again. And here we were adding an AI snippet that's like totally personalized. And Mica mentioned something interesting. This is a mapped field that comes from the CRM. So you can expect any contact dropped from the workflow into this sequence to have that field. And we're actually giving the AI a closed loss context. So they're going to actually write something different for each lead. So let's actually try the first lead here, which will have a closed loss context, like they were interested in improving outbound efficiency, but the timing was not right here. And we're going to see like outbound efficiency got deprioritized with other like go-to-market investments. I want to check if it has made its way back into the roadmap this quarter. So that was like the text generated for this lead. But for another one, the closed loss context might be totally different. So in this case, it was about like they have another tool and they're like renewing in June 2026. Again, since your current sales engagement contract is getting closer to renewal in June 26, I didn't write anything here. Wondered if like your outbound and multi-channel priorities have shifted. So what we did, we actually got context from the CRM, dropped from workflows, total orchestration and automation and personalization. And I actually built this like in less than 5 minutes with you, and hopefully gives you like some ideas on how many things you can actually automate without you having to lift a finger, and hopefully like you don't leave money on the table. Mika, over to you.
This is a great example. Like, just think about like building this again. I'm not said at the beginning of the call, like this is a great workflow. You could build it with NA10, whatever, like with all of the tools that you're using, but it's so complex to actually do that. Like, and you make it so easy here. And the thing that I really love is kind of like, again, we talk about like pipeline creation on one hand, and like in pipeline progression and closing, and then even expansions later on, which is like it's great. Like, in the context that is Amplemarket is able to infer here is amazing. And here you're only passing one of the fields from the CRM, but like on
Exactly.
that snippet, you could pass a lot. You could have
Yeah.
like
Just like one
you
field
know
here.
yeah. So but here to the point, like you could pass like three fields, and so like the AI would actually start like really understanding what the intent of this approach is, and again like read from all of the lost reasons, last conversation, top priorities. You could even pass like what their current sales tech stack was, right? So you could mention all of these things. And so it becomes like a really context-rich conversation, but you have a really context-rich conversation that is actually flowing from your CRM back into Amplemarket, but like automatically. So like you can actually have like you're just orchestrating all of these motions on behalf of your reps. And again, to go back to the first point, it's kind of like we spend so much time thinking about like idealizing like the revenue the state of the art, the world class revenue operations. Again, here hopefully Awni was able to give you a glimpse into that and how you can actually build some of that today with Amplemarket. Thank you, Awni. This was amazing. Now I want to go build
Awesome.
workflows, but
Hope it was helpful. And please give us feedback. If you try it out, you're missing anything. Again, we want to improve, and like we're still building on top of it. But I can assure you, we have put so much love into the experience, so it won't feel like anything. And hopefully, you can build simple stuff, yet sophisticated behind the scenes in like no time. Hopefully, but really appreciate like you being here, and hopefully this was helpful.
It was very helpful, Anya. Now even I want to go because, as I said before, like we build a lot. Like we are the first users of Amplemarket. We build a lot of things on top of Amplemarket, but still, like there's always so many interesting new ideas that we can build here. There were a lot of questions. I kind of like answered most of them. I think here like we will share a recording of this webinar. For any of you that were here that want to see more workflows or that want to, okay, like I want to build a workflow, how do I do that? Like for this specific use case, share it with us. Like we're happy to actually send back like a Loom video. A few things too, like we will be revamping the Amplemarket University. So like you have like university.amplemarket.com. There's a ton of videos. And we will be revamping that university in the coming weeks. And there's going to be a lot of videos on how to build workflows, but not only workflows, AI snippets, the MCP usage. And so stay tuned because then like you could start really thinking how you can combine all of these things into like very simple to set up and sophisticated motions. But yeah, it was an amazing session, Ani, as always. Like I
Yeah,
truly appreciate
really
your
enjoyed
time
it.
today.
And yeah, looking forward to see like what the folks build here. And we're all ears. Like whenever you have feedback or anything in mind, just like share it with us.
Yeah, always. Like again, we're going to be extending workflows too. Ani and the team are actually working on a lot of like new ways to extend the workflows. We're excited to see this coming again. Someone was saying that like they couldn't see CRM filters on their workflows. If you can't see them, just reach out to support@amplemarket.com and ask for this to be enabled, and we'll enable it on
Yeah,
your accounts. I think there was like a we were doing like a soft release. Maybe it's not yet at 100% of all of the accounts, but like just reach out and we can help you with that. Awesome,
awesome, great
Awni.
stuff.
I'll let you go enjoy the rest of your evening as I finish my coffee over here.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye
Thank you
bye.
all for
Have a good
joining.
one.
Great session, Ani. Cheers.
Bye bye.